is up, everybody? My name is Kyle and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. If you read the title to this video, you already know we're back on plant content. So thank you for bearing with my travel content if that's not really your thing. But we are back on plant content, so have no fear. And because you read the title, you already know, we're doing another houseplant tour. And I wanted to do another tour around a specific genus. And this time around, we're gonna be talking about, hold on, I have one right here, Dracaena and Sanseveria. So I say but at this point, Sansevieria has been rolled into the Dracaena genus. I think it got rolled in like a year or two ago. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a horticulturalist. I'm not a botanist, I'm not an expert, but I think they got rolled in about a year or two ago. And I've got quite a few around the house, and I wanted to walk you through them, talk about them a little bit, and just kind of show you them where they live in my home. So I do think it's important, instead of bringing them all here to the desk to talk about them here, I want to show you where they live in my house, just so we could talk about like their lighting, their light access, how far they are from windows, that kind of stuff. When it comes to care for Sansevieria and Dracaena, I typically let mine dry out completely before I water them. So they get watered a lot less than most of the plants in my collection. They're typically listed as low light plants, which kind of implies that they don't need a lot of light to live. That is not the case. Though they'll tolerate low light, which means at best they'll grow slowly, at worst they'll die slowly. They do prefer like bright, indirect, high light, medium light. They like more light. They can just take less. So though I have a few of these in lower light situations, and they are great plants to fill some of your lower light settings in your home, they do like a little bit more light. So just wanted to cover care a little bit too. I water them when they're dry, and they do like more light than I think most growers let on. But yeah, without further ado, let's just walk around and see all the Sansevieria and Dracaena in my collection. All right, so I'm gonna start us in my front room. And if you know what you're looking for, you can probably already spot some Dracaena and Sansevieria. But we're actually gonna start right over here, because when you walk into my home, you are met with a Sansevieria cylindrica. And this was actually one of the first cuttings I ever got from a friend. When I received it from him, it was just this big cylinder right here, and there may have been like a couple small pups, but since then it's grown a little bit, albeit slowly. A lot of my Sansevieria grow slowly. And I think this is actually a good, and I could be wrong, but this might be a good example of the fact that Sansevieria and Dracaena like higher light. So this like really thick cylinder was probably grown in really good conditions for the plant, whereas these like thinner, I don't know, I'm just calling them cylinders, that are coming off of the new plant now, they're pretty thin, and I've had this plant for a while and they have not thickened up. So although the window behind it is south facing, it's not getting like high light. So I think this is a testament to the fact that a lot of Sansevieria and a lot of Dracaena like more light than people let on. But that said, I like the look of it. I've got a cool little rock in there that I got at the Renaissance Fair, if you saw that video, and a little green frog from my sister. So yeah, that's the first one. Let's move right along. I will keep this moving. Next up here, this is a Sansevieria Lilliput. I couldn't find that much technical information about this plant, but it seems to be a hybrid, and it's a dwarf variety. I really like this plant. I love the striping on the leaves. I'm just going to call them leaves on this. I don't know the right words. When it comes to Sansevieria and Dracaena, I'm not nearly as knowledgeable as like Hoya. Not that I'm that knowledgeable, but I'm just going to call these leaves. I think they're leaves. But I really love the striping, that kind of like light green background with the dark green striping. Really pretty plant. It stays pretty compact from what I gather. And I think one of the like features of this plant is how the leaves kind of like bow outward from the center, whereas a lot of other Sansevieria grow straight up and down. This one's got kind of like a swooshing out effect. But yeah, I really like this one. You will see I actually have another one as we move on the first floor. I forgot I had one and I ran into this one and I bought it. So yeah, I've got 2 of these. But let's move on, and actually I'm going to grab my notes because I mentioned I'm not nearly as knowledgeable with Sansevieria and Dracaena as I am with Hoya. So I made some notes here so I could remember which is which. And that brings us to this guy right here. And this one is my Sansevieria lavranos, I believe is this one. Let me double check that. I've got a tag back here. I don't have tags on all my plants, but I do for some. Yep, so that's Sansevieria lavranos. This one is super cool, very spiky. Actually, I'm going to open this up so you can see it a little better. And me, hi. So this one is super spiky, very sharp, very turgid, I think the word would be. And I keep it in this case because it is so sharp. I don't really want to be bumping it. I don't want guests to bump it. But I love this one. It's really compact. It's in this curio cabinet with a bunch of my Hoyas. And it gets, well, it's about 8 feet away from, I'm guessing here, 7 to 8 feet away from my south-facing window. It's near the ground in this curio cabinet, so it's got a great view of the sky. And it's receiving a little bit of light from the lights at the top of the curio cabinet. So it does pretty well. It doesn't need to be watered very often, I find. I always check it with a water meter before I water it. But yeah, this is one of those where, like, if you pay too much attention to it, it seems like it's doing nothing. But if you kind of forget about it for a month or two and you come back, you can notice some new growth on it. I think it's probably put out like 3 leaves since I first got it. But I really like this one. It's very aggressive looking, which I dig, but that's also why it is protected behind glass. All right, moving on. I think that's all the Sansevieria I've got in the front room, but I do have this Dracaena marginata right here. And I love this Dracaena marginata. This is just a plant I got from a big box store. One of my first large floor plants. And yeah, it's just always done really well for me. It's pretty no fuss. It's sitting directly in the center of my first floor. It doesn't get the best light during the summer, but during the winter, since the window behind it, or the window that it's facing, I guess behind me, is south facing, the sun sits a lot lower, so it gets much better light. And as you can see, it's actually putting out a bunch of new growth right now, which I find it doesn't really do for me in the summer. It grows pretty slowly in the summer, and I think, again, it's because the sun's sitting higher in the sky. This thing isn't getting as direct, not that the light is direct, but you know, the light is not shooting as directly at it. So it grows slower in the summer, but it is picking up for me in the winter. It's just a fun, goofy looking, like, I think I heard it described as like a Dr. Seuss looking plant, and I definitely agree with that. I have decorated the base of this one. So I top dress pretty much all of my plants with aquarium gravel or sphagnum moss, depending on the plant and the needs. So this is aquarium gravel. I have a old school Snorlax figurine down there from when I was a kid. This is a really cool like balsa wood treehouse that a buddy got for me for, I believe it was my birthday a couple of years ago. It lights up. It's daytime. I'm not going to light it up right now, but I just thought it was cool. It looks like a little like treehouse in the forest there with a Snorlax to greet you. So yeah, that's my Dracaena marginata. Does well for me. Again, I've had this plant for a really long time. It's probably grown more than I think, but yeah, it's pretty no fuss. I really like it. It is in a nursery pot. I should honestly probably just pot it in that cover pot because I never take it out when I water it. Most of my plants are in nursery pots and I will take them out of the cover pots to water. Floor plants, not usually the case. I don't really feel like moving them. So one of these days I'll repot this into the pot itself. Maybe we'll make a video, but I don't know. Different video, different day. Okay, moving on. We're now in my dining room and I have another sharp, spiky boy here because every dinner should be a little dangerous. This is my Sansevieria francisii. Very similar to the lavranos. This one is really compact, really spiky. It's not getting the best light. I think this is a good example of giving your Sansevieria Dracaena better light. Here on the plant is probably, from here down is probably about where I bought the plant. And then from here up is since I've owned it. Not every plant in my home can have ideal conditions. This is a really not ideal condition. My dining room sits with a north-facing window, and this thing sits about 5 feet away from that. So it doesn't get a ton of light. As you can see, those new leaves seem to be really reaching, and the plant isn't as compact anymore. But I like the way it looks. It's really structural. It's got like a devilish quality to it, which I find fun when you pair it with all of the Lego flowers and the pink cowboy boot salt shakers. So yeah, this is Sansevieria francisii, and it lives on my dining table. Okay, here at the window, this is a north-facing window in my dining room. This is my other Sansevieria Lilliput. This one is much larger. I got this one first. I actually got this one in Ohio on a trip because I like to buy plants when I travel. And yeah, very similar to what I was saying before. I really like the light green background and the dark green striping on it. It's a very easy plant. I don't have to water it very much. It's really compact. There are a lot of plants in this one, I think. But yeah, no fuss. Really like it. I have two. I don't need two, but they both have spots in the home right now. So, okay, let's move on to one of my favorite Sansevieria. And this is my Sansevieria Fernwood Mikado. The first time I saw this plant online, I fell in love with it. I'm not like a crazy Sansevieria lover. Obviously, I have quite a few. They don't usually strike me as like, oh, I need to have this plant. This one did. I really liked how thin the leaves were. I liked how like spider-like it seems. It's no fuss. It's super easy. This one actually flowered for me too. So I'm just going to pause right here because I'll throw up a photo of it when it flowered. And when it was flowering, I was a little concerned because I had read that sometimes that means that the plant is like putting out a death bloom and it's going to die. The plant definitely didn't die, as you can tell. And maybe the portion of the plant that flowered did die back, but this plant is so dense that I couldn't really tell. I would love to actually pot this before too long because I've seen them as floor plants before when they really take off and they look super cool. I don't know where it would go, but yeah, I would love to see it as a floor plant. This is the focus is, let's see, it's a little frog that my sister got me. There it is. He just hangs perfectly on this one. And yeah, so that's the Fernwood Mikado. And it's out of focus, wait. And it's back in focus. Okay, you can see my notes. Let's move on. I think we're almost done with the first floor here. One that I know is hiding over here. Let me flip on a light real quick. This is another Sansevieria that I bought on a trip. I think I got this one in Indiana. I got rid of the tag. I remembered the word tiger was in it. So I did a little bit of research, and this one I'm nearly positive, especially off the pictures, is Sansevieria Tiger Crown. This is also a hybrid. I couldn't find a ton of information about like which species were bred together to make this hybrid, kind of like the Lilliput. It seems as though, and maybe I just didn't dive deep enough, it's not as readily available what these hybrids are crossed from when you're looking up Sansevieria and Dracaena, but this one's cool. It's really compact. It gets terrible, terrible light. That's a north-facing window. This is covered under some shelving, and it's still growing. This is brand new, but yeah, that's my Sansevieria Tiger Crown. I think, just let's pause for 1 second. I think I hit them all. Oh no, I walked past one. Hold on. You guys probably saw this, and maybe it's a mess over there. Maybe you were screaming at me through the screen when you saw this, but over here is a Dracaena, and here's the thing. I was kind of looking at all of my Sansevieria. I know they're Dracaena, but was looking for all of my tall, spiky boys. Forgot about this one. This is my Dracaena reflexa. This is the Song of India. This will grow into a tree. It's not for me, obviously. I've actually struggled with it a little bit. As you can see, I cut it back here. It's putting out some new growth, if that focuses. We've got some new growth in the back from where I cut it. And I didn't have to cut this one, but I cut it back. It was struggling a little bit after I uppotted it. Maybe a blessing in disguise, because it seems like where I've cut it, it's branching. And I would love to see this plant kind of resemble a tree more than the shrub or bush than it currently does. But I love this plant. It's beautiful. I know the Song of Jamaica is like with the variegation inverted, with the kind of green on the outside, and I think the light, dark on the outside, light on the inside. I could be wrong. Between this one, the full green form, and the Song of Jamaica, I liked the Song of India best. Hasn't grown much for me. Like I said, I struggled a little bit. I don't know if it's because I repotted it. It did get infested with fungus gnats, like a pretty bad infestation that I took care of. So it's kind of been through it. It looks a little straggly where it's starting to grow now, but I don't know, it's pretty compact. I still like it. I still have high hopes for it. The branching makes me really, really hopeful. And yeah, that's my Dracaena reflexa hiding in the corner here. Okay, that is everything on my first floor. Let's go into the basement real quick, because there's a couple down there, and then we'll knock out the upstairs and we'll be done. First and foremost, say good morning to Sandwich. I'm shooting all of this separately from my intro. So the intro was shot in the evening. This is morning. So Sandwich is still sleeping. Let her sleep in a little bit. But she is sleeping right underneath the first plant I want to show you, which is this one right here. This is my Sanseveria kirkii silver blue. This plant is, I don't know, I actually may venture to say that from looks alone, this is my favorite Sansevieria. I'm going to pull it down so you can see it a little bit better. It's super compact. I've got two plants growing in here, so this is the main one, and then there's a smaller one growing off here. But it's got really chunky, fat leaves. I love the rippling. It's really compact. I haven't had to repot it since I got it. It feels different than most Sansevieria. Like, I used the word turgid before. That is definitely the appropriate word when you give these leaves a squeeze. I don't know, it's kind of goofy. It's a little whimsical to me because it's fat, chunky leaves, like vertically as opposed to like wide leaves. And then this rippling. But yeah, really, really cool plant. This is in my basement. So this is a south-facing window, but it's like a half window, and there is a bit of an overhang. So it gets really good light during certain parts of the day. Not nearly as great as like that bay window upstairs that you saw, but enough for it to grow. As you can see, there is new growth happening right there in the center. Yeah, love this chunky boy. Goofy plant. I haven't really seen it since I bought it. I've had it for maybe a year and a half, 2 years now. In person, I haven't really run into it much, but if you ever see this one and it's affordable, I say pick it up. I love it. Doesn't take up a lot of space. Really, really cool to admire. And yeah, that's the Sanseveria kirkii silver blue. Okay, the last one I have here in my basement, I say that like we went through a bunch. This is only the second one. But over here, if you'll bear with me and the shaking, this is my Sansevieria Moonshine. And you can't really tell how, it's not as light as some. But, you know, the Moonshine is, I believe it's a, hold on, I have my notes here, trifascata. Yeah, so this is a type of Sansevieria trifascata. It's the only trifascata I have. I think this like growth pattern is very indicative of the trifascata, actually similar to the Lilliput with that like kind of like bowing out. But one of the characteristics of this one compared to other trifascata is that it's like a lighter green. I've seen them that like this like pretty like almost what's the word I'm looking for? Like a pale green. I don't know why pale was such a hard word to find. But you know, some of the really pretty ones are like nice and pale. Mine, not so much. It's doing all right. It puts out new growth. It's in a south-facing window now. It used to be up in my room in some terrible light. So I'm thinking that as this new growth comes in, it might be a little more compact. But yeah, this is the only trifascata that I've got in my collection. It's from a big box store. It's not in the best soil. It hangs onto a lot of moisture. So I actually barely water this plant, like every few months maybe. Could probably use a repot. It could probably use some better soil. I have too many plants to care that much. It gets really good light, so it's got that going for it now. But yeah, that is my Sansevieria trifascata Moonshine, and that is all of the Sansevieria that I have here in my basement. So we're gonna pop upstairs and we'll run through a few more and then we'll wrap. Okay, welcome back to my office. If you couldn't tell, this is where the intro was shot. There's only a couple in here, but you can see one staring you down here from the corner. This is my Sansevieria zeylanica, and I have two of these. The other one is a lot more special to me. You'll see it when we get to my bedroom. But yeah, this one grows great for me. My favorite part about this one is the magnetic side-eye that it gives you constantly. This was gifted to me by a couple of very good friends. There's a few hiding around here, a couple of these magnet eyes. Oh, I know this is Sansevieria Tor, but my philodendron bilietiae is rocking a couple. We are getting way off track. I see where this is going. Okay, back on Sansevieria. This is Sansevieria zeylanica. This is like classic Sansevieria. Like when I hear mother-in-law's tongue, this is the one that I think of. This is the one that's like in your grandmother's house, your great-grandmother's house, spoiler, with the next one that you're gonna see. But yeah, this plant has kind of been a popular house plant for a very long time. This one grows fine for me. As you can see, there is a little bit of stretching that happened, etiolation, I believe it's called, on the leaves, which I believe is an indicator that it's not getting the most favorable light. But when I look at some of this newer growth, like this lighter one, where's my finger, like right here, it is pretty thick all the way through. So I'm not exactly sure if it's a problem. This has been no fuss for me. This Sansevieria is actually potted directly into that pot. Might need to get repotted before too long, but I like that juxtaposition of kind of like that straight up and down structural look of the Sansevieria against that round pot underneath it. I don't have a lot of like globe-shaped pots, so I feel like pairing them with structural plants looks really nice in my opinion. So yeah, that is Sansevieria zeylanica. It is pretty easy, no fuss. You're gonna see a much cooler one to me in my bedroom. But let's move on to the last one. This is the one that I was holding on to in the intro. I don't have the lights on the shelves. It's the morning. I'm not going to turn them on for you. Sorry. But yeah, I was holding this plant in the intro, and this is the Sansevieria boncellensis Hedgehog. I dig this one. It's very spiky, but kind of rounded at the tip. So it's not as aggressive seeming as the other ones, but I love how compact it grows and kind of that round. I think maybe that's a floret shape. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that compact look, just a really, really neat Sansevieria. Another testament to giving them good light. So this one I bought pretty much like this. It's probably grown in a nursery, really, really great conditions. But as you can see over here, I cut off a pup pretty much for this video. But the pup definitely is not as compact. It has much longer leaves. I might repot it up in something and see what happens, or I may give it away. But for the look of just kind of that singular plant in that really cool, unstable pot, I cut the pup out. So yep, that's all the Sansevieria I have in my office. All right, last room of the tour. This is my bedroom, as you can tell from the bed. Yes, I make my bed every day. It's important. You should too. Okay, let's start over here. This Sansevieria right here is, hold on, I gotta look at my notes. Sansevieria Bantel sensation. Hello. So yeah, Sansevieria Bantel sensation. This is cool Sansevieria. I don't have a lot to say about this one. It doesn't grow super fast for me. This is, my bedroom has a north-facing window, and this one is about 5-6 feet away from it. Not the best conditions, even for a Sansevieria. Not even great conditions for a ZZ plant, but they live here. Cool thing about this Bantel sensation is, I don't know if it's considered variegation, but just some of the patterning on these leaves is just really cool. Like you almost get that yellow variegation that you see on some like the zeylanicas and then the trifascatas. And then you get some of the like striping that you see in like the non-variegated trifascatas. I don't know, this one's just really cool. It's kind of like got everything going on. Like you can look at parts and be like, oh, that looks like a moonshine, or oh, that looks like a zeylanica, oh, that looks like a trifascata. It's a little bit chaotic and I kind of love it. It's like a Sansevieria that doesn't know what it wants to be. So yeah, here's my confused Sansevieria Bantel sensation. Yeah, not much else to say about it. Grows fine, very slowly. It's in terrible lighting conditions. That's my fault, not the plants. I'm sure it will grow much better and maybe even have some cooler variegation and patterning on it if I gave it better light. But that's not in the cards for it right now. Okay, before we get to my favorite one in the room, let's just cover this right here. This is a whale fin Sansevieria. Actually, when I looked this up, I didn't realize it. The name of this plant is Sansevieria masoniana. So Sansevieria masoniana. I've just always heard it referred to as whale fin. Yeah, that's the name of this one. It's in terrible lighting conditions. I've actually already cut one pup off. Probably going to cut this big tall pup off because I like the look of just that one big, nicely shaped whale leaf in this little terracotta pot. I was seeing what was going to happen with this. It's not really doing what I'd want. I think I'm just going to cut it, prop it, maybe give it away. But yeah, this is my Sansevieria whale fin. It is sitting against a north-facing wall next to a north-facing window, so maybe some of the worst light in the house. It does get some light at the end of the day from that west-facing window, but not enough to really make it worth its while. So it grows, it does fine, it lives where it lives, and yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the last Sansevieria here. And this one, you may be thinking like, Kyle, I've seen some cool looking Sansevieria, some really unique ones, some like really well-grown ones, not necessarily because of me, likely the nursery. Why is this Sansevieria zeylanica your favorite in your collection? And that is because this is actually my great-grandmother's snake plant. My grandmother had been keeping it alive for all these years in her home, but she lives like 15 minutes away from me. And I wasn't super into plants growing up. I never really noticed it. I never realized, that it had made it from my great-grandmother's home to my grandmother's home. But my grandma kept it alive for years. It wasn't in the best conditions and it definitely needed some TLC. So like, as you can see, these are like the older leaves. They were pretty like limp and not super happy. The plant wasn't standing up very straight. So I took it in. I decided to rehab it. I left all of these leaves on because I was afraid if I cut too many back, the whole plant was going to die. And it was still photosynthesizing. So it still has some of those old leaves that you can see like here and here. It's actually kind of cool to see like how old some of these leaves really look. But over time, this has grown into a healthy Sansevieria. And I'm just always so happy to see it like standing up straight, putting out new growth. Before too long, I could probably cut some of these limper leaves off, but honestly, I kind of like the look. I kind of like the memory of it. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this one, except I love it for, very emotional reasons. It's wild to think that this plant was in my great-grandparents' home and my great-grandmother took care of it for years and years and years. She's no longer with us, and my grandmother took the plant on and was able to keep it alive after all these years. And, despite it not being super healthy when I first took it in, the plant is looking really, really great. So yeah, I love this plant. I feel like this is a cool kind of testament to how like the hobby of houseplant collecting and having plants in your home can really be like generational and emotional and tied to like friends and family and memories, and how something that is like one of the most simple houseplants that you've seen 100 times over can actually be like one of the most special houseplants to someone else just because of where it came from, who owned it, who gave it to them. And yeah, with that, I feel like that's a really good place to stop this tour. All right, so that's gonna be it. Hopefully you enjoyed the tour. Hopefully you learned a thing or two about Dracaena and Sansevieria. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you wanna know when these videos go live. And yeah, my name is Kyle. This has been my channel, and I really hope to catch you in the next one.